Well, with all that traffic and people moving, of course, and coming back home, this is also an issue within our own borders. KwaZulu-Natal's major routes are starting to get busy as thousands of holidaymakers are making their way back home from the holidays. The N3 Toll Concession says it's been recording over 1,500 vehicles per hour. This is at the Mariannhill Toll Plaza on the N3 since yesterday. Motorists have been urged to be patient as inclement weather conditions have been forecast. But to get more detail now, I'm joined by a KZN Transport MEC spokesperson, Ndabezinhle Sibiya, to discuss the province's road safety campaign. Mr. Sibiya, a good evening to you. Thank you so much for joining us. 1,500 cars per hour just at the Mariannhill Toll. That's a lot of traffic. Talk to us about really what you're seeing in terms of congestion on the roads, and also, I suppose there is the issue of needing to have a lot of law enforcement visibility on our roads as well.
Well, thank you very much, Naleti, and good evening to the viewers at home, the Newzroom Afrika. Well, first and foremost, the MEC for Transport and Human Settlements, Sponsor Duma, has expressed his appreciation to the motorists, especially the visitors that, have been, streaming into KwaZulu-Natal since the 1st of December, for, behaving very well on the road. And he has also indicated that, on the 31st of December, he had a meeting with the chief, traffic officers, as well as the mayors from a couple of municipalities like eThekwini, as well as Renkonyen, where they reflected, on the road safety plan that he unveiled at the beginning of December. We can report, Nalit, that over the past weeks, we seized more than 120,000 vehicles. A very dedicated team from Road Traffic Inspectorate has been working flat out with other law enforcement agencies as well as traffic officers in various parts of the province of KwaZulu-Natal to ensure that the motorists are safe. And we are also very happy in a sense that when the MEC took over in this department, he dedicated himself to ensure that the Department of Transport becomes a catalyst for the growth of all sectors of the economy, especially when you look at tourism. You know that tourism was destroyed by COVID-19. You know that we also experienced the flooding. That is why the MEC worked flat out to ensure that as the Department of Transport, we become a catalyst for the growth of the tourism sector. The projections before the 1st of December from the department, from the tourism as well as the KZN Film Authority, they were looking at about 600,000 domestic tourists from different provinces, as well as 70,000 international tourists. So now the figures that you are mentioning, the cars that are passing through the toll gates, that's a very clear indication that we had a very bumper season in KwaZulu-Natal.
Yeah, and I think we had this discussion earlier this week around after years of difficulty for certainly eThekwini, but various parts of KwaZulu-Natal, those tourism numbers starting to pick up, and South Africans thinking of it once again as the playground of the country. So that means lots of traffic to be moving. But I believe that there are also some weather warnings, and we're actually rolling some visuals of people driving in the rain as well. So something for travelers to be considering.
Yeah, you're correct, Naleti. When MEC Sponsor Duma was addressing senior management from both departments, Department of Transport as well as Department of Human Settlement, he also, in that meeting, the strategic planning, he reflected on the importance of, responding to disasters. As you know, here in KwaZulu-Natal, we've got the longest coastline, about 600 kilometers, and KwaZulu-Natal is prone to what we call the cut-off flows. The heavy rainfall that are associated with the cut-off flows, they result in, the destruction of road infrastructure, the destruction of, human settlements. That is why this morning, we had HODs, meeting with other, government departments, what you called the Provincial Disaster Management Committee, presenting plans in terms of responding to, the heavy rainfall as a result of cut-off flows. You'll recall that, sometime last year, we had a cut-off flow that resulted in snow in the Midlands. And the MEC Sponsor Duma was there with the team working flat out. Again, we talk about the state of readiness. We are ready to ensure that we respond with a sense of urgency. But more importantly, if you look at the Department of Transport, about 58 million was set aside by the MEC Sponsor Duma to the portfolio committee to ensure that when we talk about the design of our bridges, we've got what to call the drainage culverts, that enable water to actually to move, storm water to move. That is part of stormwater management, because over the past years we've seen our roads getting overwhelmed as a result of rain, coming from the cut-off flows. So that is what the department has done. If you look at the drainage system again, the human settlement, the HOD there has worked, in conjunction with the HOD, transport to prepare, for any eventuality. So we can safely say that both departments, working with other spheres of government, the municipalities as well as the Cocta National, we are ready for any eventuality.
Yeah, just a few moments ago, I was actually sharing with our viewers about an arrest that was made as well, where one particular driver was caught. I mean, it's quite the number, right? Driving at 182 kilometers per hour. And I imagine that that's something that you're watching very closely. I mean, talk to me about some of the extreme issues that you've seen, the kind of chances that people take on the road.
Well, Danlady, when MEC Sponsor Duma launched the festive season road safety campaign, he made one statement. He said, it's either you obey the rules or you spend, the festive season behind bars. We can report that, about 89 motorists were arrested for drinking and driving. The highly dedicated team from Road Traffic Inspectorate seized more than 120,000 cars. It's a very clear indication that, we want to ensure that when you come to KwaZulu-Natal, the motorists are safe and that there's zero tolerance. Yeah. If you look at, again, the deployment of the law enforcement agencies, the deployment of about 808 cars that were used by this highly dedicated team from Road Traffic Inspectorate, close to 2,000, RTI, officers deployed, working with the municipalities. That meeting that took place on the 31st of December, attended by Mayor Cyril Kaba, Mayor Ndabezinhle from Renkonyeni municipality, it reflected on the deployment because, for the RTI team as well as traffic officers from the coast municipalities, this is not, the time for leisure. We want to ensure the safety of visitors so that next year we have more visitors coming to KwaZulu-Natal because of the visibility of law enforcement agencies. Linked to that, the 50 billion invested by the national government, to expand the N3 as well as the N2 expansion. When we are saying, look, in the next few years, we want to be a leader in terms of the tourism growth. Right. Of the visitors to KwaZulu-Natal and many other sectors of the economy, because when you talk transport, you talk about a catalyst for the growth of the economy of the country.
And I'm just going to bring you back here, Mr. Sibiya, just so that we can actually speak to the questions that I'm asking you, and that is just how you're dealing with speed. So is that an issue that you are picking up on the roads?
Well, when you talk speed, I indicated that about 89, people were arrested for drinking and driving. We set a target of having about 99, speed operations across the province. And, if you look at, the charges that have been served to motorists, we're looking at about 14,000 charges that have been served, written charges that have been served to motorists for different, offenses. If you look at last year, about 6,000, written charges that were served. Now, this year, 14,000. It is just a clear indication that this deployment of close to 3,000, road traffic inspectorate, officers, it was very timely, and we are seeing, a lot of, improvement in terms of the visibility of law enforcement officers. And again, the last one, it is important, Naledi, that we reflect on the infrastructure, on the investment on road infrastructure, because if you talk about the carnage on our our road, the fatalities, the road infrastructure must be designed such that it is easy to drive up and down, in the province of KwaZulu-Natal. That is why I was highlighting that 50 billion invested by national government, an indication that there is that, integrated approach to, deal with, the investment in road infrastructure, so that when you talk about of the economy, when you talk about the festive season, the Department of Transport must be regarded as one of the catalysts for that growth.
Yeah, and it's important that, of course, that information is shared with us because it brings us up to date, really, with the work that's being done. There was one issue, though, prior to the festive season, and this, I'm wondering, what conversations are going on there. Just before, I think it was in November, you had the Durban long-distance taxi operations interrupted for a certain while. This is as a response to, I think it was Operation Shanela, and some of their paperwork and permits being pulled into question. And of course, as people then travel back, perhaps give us an update on those conversations, and if those traveling long distance via taxis are to be concerned about anything.
Well, the conflict that you are referring to, Naledi, is water under the bridge. When the MEC met with them, the leadership of the Durban Long Distance Association, he made a statement once again. He said, look, there is no challenge that is above the collective wisdom. On the 14th and the 15th of December, he had a meeting with, the leadership of the association at the Durban, at the Durban station, where they were just, interacting with the passengers. The mood was very, positive. The mood was very, inspiring. And the MEC says we must inspire hope for a better future. And, we demonstrated when we resolved that, misunderstanding over payments that indeed we are working collectively. The taxi industry is a very critical, sector of the public transport system. So that is why when you look at the statistics, the taxi operators were well behaved, and only just minor hiccups here and there. Yesterday, we experienced, a bus, crash, which resulted in the death of one person. The MEC sponsor has expressed his condolences to the family. And again, in Nkandla, we had, a taxi that, rolled down the embankment, resulting in the death of about, 8 people. The MEC visited all families starting from 1 o'clock in the afternoon until 9 o'clock in the evening, just showing that compassion. So KwaZulu-Natal is the province that has got a bright future ahead, and we are very confident that as we now enter 2025, we are going to see a highly dedicated team, from the Department of Transport as well as human settlements, because the two departments have been merged. And we are saying when you talk human settlement, when you talk disasters, the team must work together to ensure accessibility to areas that are devastated by floods as well as strong winds. Yeah. So there is that integrated approach, which I think for me, it is going to really assist us, to tide over the storm.
A little bit earlier, obviously, we touched on the weather warnings for motorists, but I believe that this is also a concern for some residential areas. Are there particular, places or towns that, really should be concerned about the weather in the next few days?
The low-lying areas, the team that met, this morning, led by the HOD, Umanzini, as well as the HOD Impele Transport, Human Settlement, we reflected on quite a number of areas as guided by, COCTA, National COCTA in the province and the SA Weather Services. There are, areas which, have been identified as, prone to flooding. We have been working with the traditional, authorities. The MEC has been talking to them, in each and every meeting, encouraging them to ensure that, people that are living in low-lying areas are moved to suitable, land. And here in eThekwini, we are dealing with the said pass, the group areas act. Most of the people that are here in eThekwini are coming from deep rural areas searching for job opportunities, and there's a lack of accommodation. That is why you find some of the people living in areas that are not suitable. Yeah. We had a meeting with, quite a number of traditional leaders in KZN, making land available in so that we can build, houses for people who are living in low-lying areas. If you look at Shallcross, we're still having, communities that are resisting, the construction of, houses, for the communities, and that is the area which the MEC will be focusing on in 2025 to ensure that the land that has been identified somewhere here in Durban is acquired, so that we can build suitable land for the people that are living low-lying areas.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for the time. We really do appreciate it. Of course, Ndabezinhle Sibiya there is the spokesperson for the KZN MEC for transport.